Food. It is as essential as air is to breathe and water is to drink. Food is life. But where does our food come from? The Bahamas has more than 2,000 farmers, but it's hardly enough to keep up with our growing population. Or is it? We travel the nation to find out the answers to the questions everyone is asking. Can we grow enough fruit and vegetables? Can we raise enough sheep, goat, and chickens? Can we catch enough fish to feed a country with almost 400,000 people? Keep watching as we find out from the people who make it happen. Can we feed ourselves? Just 30 miles west of New Providence sits a sleeping giant known as Andros. At 104 miles long and 40 miles wide, Andros is the fifth largest island in the region, with more land mass than the entire 700 islands of the Bahamas combined. Andros is a land of mystery, with tales of the Lusca, half shark, half octopus, roaming its waters, and the haunting tales of the Charney causing scares on land. Even the name evokes mystery. Some argue the name came from a Central American town with a similar sounding name, San Andreas, while others say the name came with the Greeks who came to sponge. Most scholars, however, agree that the name was in honor of a colonial governor of New York, Massachusetts, and New England, Sir Edmund Andros. Sir Edmund was eventually thrown in jail, but his name lived on in the Bahamas. Andros was also a key hub for piracy in the 18th century and was infamous as being the base for the privateer turned pirate, Captain Henry Morgan. In the 19th century, Andros became the refuge for the Seminole Indians following their uprising in Florida. To this day, descendants of the Seminoles can be found in red bays. Andros is a geographical marvel and is home to the biggest concentration of blue holes in the world. With the tongue of the ocean to the east and the Great Bahama Bank to the west, and one of the world's longest barrier reefs, the waters around Andros are unlike any other in the world when it comes to marine life. The island's marine treasures were explored by the famed French oceanographer Jacques Cousteau, who referred to Andros as one of his favorite places in the world to explore. While the bounties of the sea around Andros will play a vital role in feeding the Bahamas, it's the land on Andros that makes it a key player. Andros has the most arable land in the entire country and is ground zero for agricultural research and development in the Bahamas. No conversation about feeding ourselves can begin without talking about the big yard, Andros. If you live on Andros, it's hard to get away from farming. That's especially true for this lady.
I'm Antoinette Pickstock. I'm working with the Department of Agriculture and Extension, and I'm also a farmer.
Antoinette Pickstock has been a farmer for most of her life. She learned early on that she had a green thumb and was always growing something or other in the back of her yard. It's one of the benefits of being an extension officer for the Department of Agriculture.
I started as a backyard farmer in my yard, Musket Point, and I came out here and I occupy 6 acres. I have 2 acres of onions, 3 tomatoes, and 3 acres of sweet pepper, 2 acres of sweet pepper.
Antoinette used her knowledge of farming trends and best practices to her advantage when she began her farm. That practical knowledge goes 2 ways.
Yeah, the first thing the farmers to say, yeah, well, I could go and ask Antoinette about my crop because I know she is a good farmer. So whatever she produces good, so I know she will be able to tell me what to do on my farm.
Pickstock's farm, while growing, is still a side project for her. She says her main goal is to help Andros farmers reach their potential as the breadbasket of the Bahamas. She's particularly interested in helping younger farmers on the island establish themselves. But this help also goes two ways. That's how she formed a working relationship with this farmer, Leonardo Curry. Curry has his own farm in Mastic Point, concentrating on guavas and hot peppers. He also runs the farming operations on Antoinette's farm. It's a symbiotic relationship that's allowed both farms to thrive. While Pickstock brings the traditional methods and knowledge of the market, knowing what to grow and when, Curry comes with vast technical knowledge that he's constantly improving on.
This right here, this is what I was telling you about. This is called potassium nitrate. What I do when I'm watering my plants is irrigation. You know, irrigation is predominantly water, but what I'm doing right now is called fertigation. This is where you combine the fertilizer through your irrigation system. And so what happens is, this is like using a, like say if you go to the doctor and you get an intravenous needle injection, this goes directly into the bloodstream of the plant. So what happens is the root hairs will readily absorb it, and it will pass on to the vascular bundles and go into the transport system, which you call the xylem and the phloem, and this goes into the plants, and the plants convert it to sugars. And you know that you need sunlight, carbon dioxide, all of that stuff to make photosynthesis. And what I'm doing is just helping nature along, you know. So I'm going to use a small percentage of it, because what I'm really looking for right now is just to revive these plants. I've had these habaneros now for over a year. These actually is a hybrid breed that I have. I made a considerable amount of money off of these as well. I made $18,000 just off of these peppers last year. Not to say talking about business. Alright, now what I'm going to do is add some water to this. This is a 6 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine with a Monarch pump on it. And then I'm using a 2-inch conduit from my well. And then it's pumped through this right here. This is called a drip line. This is the main line, main conduit for my irrigation system. This is called a lay flat. This comes in a 300 feet roll. And then as you go along, you'll see I have some connectors here where I would bore a hole into the lay flat. And I would use these are connectors. So once I bore a hole, I would use a connector to join this onto what you would call this is called a drip line. And this is predominantly used in Israel. Israel is the #1 producer when it comes to irrigation systems. And what this is it doesn't waste water as using a flood system where you would just flood out all of the water and abuse the water system. No, I try to preserve it as much as possible, because you know Andros has the largest water lands in the Bahamas, and we try to, you know, as best as I could, not to put too much of a damage on the ecosystem. I love nature. I like to get out here and commune with my God most of all, and I also wanted to be of use to my country. You know, we put so much emphasis on all of the other careers like doctors and lawyers and all of that other stuff, but everything starts from farming. You know, even our bare clothes, you know, we have 100% cotton on us. You know, our shoes are rubber. You know, the whole foundation boils down to farming. And I think, you know, we need to really get serious about it and realize that, you know, we need to have some form of security with our food, because if we don't, you know, today or tomorrow a war was to break out with America, and they being the main producer of our food, and us bringing in $1 billion worth of food every year, it only makes sense.
The duo say their partnership is a work in progress, but the signs of success are apparent. What some may see as two different personalities count as a plus for them. They say it's working, and their difference in age, backgrounds, and in the type of experience they have in agriculture means they have a lot of things they can draw from.
The age thing, well, you know, a lot of people say young people ain't into anything in life, but I totally disagree with that. You know, I think that it's all the person and how you know what their perspective is on life and what they want to do. And I'm just right now just trying to be a tool that God using. You know, I'm not doing this. I need money. I mean, everybody needs money. You know, that's a necessity. But the main thing, I do it for the love. So once I do it for the love, it comes out good. You know. I'm putting the water into the bucket along with the nitrogen.
Curry says his decision to move away from a career in aviation to become a farmer is the best decision he's made in his professional life. He says the opportunities that exist in farming made his choice a no-brainer.
What's possible? I mean, you're looking right at it, you know. I mean, shoots. Last year, I just on tomato harvest alone, I didn't even do half of what I have here, even a quarter. And I made just off tomatoes, made about $9,000. You know, there is definitely a lucrative industry out here for it, because you know, food, everybody got to eat. You know, you got to see the doctor every day. You don't have to wear clothes every day. You don't have to see the dentist every day. You have to see the farmer every day. So we need to put common sense back into what we're doing, and we need to try to get down our expenditure on foreign products, and we need to get not just the young behemoths but older behemoths understanding what's behemoth is unique. You know, when you come here, you know what you're getting here. You don't know what you're getting from somewhere else. You know, they could tell you anything, and just because it looks good doesn't mean it is good. You know, you come in here, you're seeing my techniques, you know, and definitely I want other young men to get into it, because you know, there's a life out here, you know, and you can support your family out here, and you can feed yourself every day. This is sustainability at its marks. That I have here, this is called this is actually the second hardest pepper in the world. This is called Scorpion Moruga, and I got a few of these seeds, and I'm gonna try these. So I'm gonna probably plant these a little bit later. These pineapples, I have them on my other field, but like I was saying, I would run this for probably about 30 minutes until all of that water is dissolved through those lines, and that's going to feed the other this field. It would also feed that field with the papayas. As also, I have some sweet potatoes and some other crops on the other side, so that's going to feed this whole section. And then this field is, like I said, divided into two halves. Each is 4 acres, 4 acres to the front, 4 acres to the back, consisting of about 8 acres. And on this side, I have my tomatoes. These right here, these are actually my beefsteak tomatoes. On the other side, I have a heirloom tomato, and as you can see, I have some ripening up on the other side as well. So which means I haven't picked yet, but I'll be picking approximately, say about next week, God spare life. I have some on that row that is starting to ripe, and these are normally staked. The reason why we stake these is so we keep them off of the ground. And as you can see, we use a twine. This is a twine that we use to help keep the tomatoes standing up so they don't fall on the ground and get damaged with scars, because they have to go to the produce market looking appropriate. If they're not, then you know they're going to be discarded in the parking house.
Pickstock and Curry say they have no doubt about the future of farming in this country. They say they're ready for the challenge because it's more than a business for them. It's a calling.
Can we feed ourselves one day? Can we move the bar from 8% to something that's much more secure?
Definitely. I mean, you could just look at the geographics and the demographics. You know, we only have a population of say about 360,000 probably, and if we have each island diversified, where every island grow a particular crop, because you don't need everybody growing the same crop, because with supply and demand, if everybody grows one thing, then you know you're just going to have it dirt cheap, and then nobody makes anything because it's just going to go to spoilage. So we need to have this thing thoroughly planned. We need to have each island doing what they do best, like Long Island do the mutton, Exuma did onions very well, Andros do onions, tomatoes, and what's not. Definitely Andros is the largest land mass, so we're going to have to use this, but we need to have farmers diversified, number one, and diversify their crops. And then we also need people, the behemoths, to respect the behemoth produce, and we need the politicians to respect the farmers and to make sure that we get paid at the appropriate time and what's not, because at the end of the day we do have families to support, and everybody look at farming thinking this is cheap. You know, just to buy my chemicals last year was about 15,000 plus.
We produce a lot of stuff because the farmers here, they could do it. We have the land, so once the farmers have the money to invest in their farm, sure, we could do it.
Can the farmers one day feed itself? Can we get from, do you believe, and tell me why?
Yes, we can feed ourselves because we have the land. We have a lot of smart farmers, and they could produce the onions, the sweet pepper, tomatoes, and Andros, even in back, we used to grow rice. So I know Andros, we could feed ourselves. The farmers can.
We are very, very excited here at BAMSI because we're bringing fresh, fresh produce and fruits from the family islands, grown by farmers at very affordable prices, and they're harvested the same week and brought to Bahamian consumers and for families to put food on the table in a very affordable way. And we at BAIC, we are making that happen, and we're doing it every Saturday. This is BAIC, growing, partnering, empowering.
Agriculture, mainly in the Bahamas as well, is not scientifically driven. And we have no crop rotation. There's just a whole lot of areas where we can grow and expand in the area of agriculture. And my ministry has taken a position, a policy position, that within at least 2 years we want to double the percentage that we're actually producing that Bahamians put in their mouths, which is around 16%. I have a percentage that is a whole lot higher than that. And I'm going to be working in this ministry to drive the initiatives to make sure that we're able to produce a whole lot more for the Bahamian people.
Tell me about your farm. Man, how did you get into it? Why limes?
Okay.
How much you're selling?
Okay,
Where is
yeah.
it selling?
Okay, I sell locally, sometime in Nassau, special orders. And I get into it, my old man, about 3 years ago, he told me it would have been a good idea to get into. And so I decided to try it, and it worked out. It worked out well.
Gordon Gator has a thriving trucking, heavy equipment, hardware, and car rental business. But the idea of getting into the citrus growing business came from this.
A local business that thrives on using limes to make a profit says the shortage of the fruit is threatening to leave a sour taste in their bottom line. LaDon Davis sat down with the owner of Switcher Bahamas to find out about the impact of the shortage on business and what's the next step to cut citrus production costs.
Owner of Switcher Bahamas, Mervyn Sweeting Jr., says a recent lime shortage has made producing the freshly squeezed homemade drink Switcher quite difficult. Without limes or lemons, there's no Switcher, and Sweeting strongly believes the Bahamas is in a prime position to become a leader in citrus production. He says to avoid shortages like this one in the future, it will take the interest of all Bahamians to adapt to backyard farming.
Bahamas has always been in that position. I think that successive individuals, companies, and governments have not exploited that opportunity or taken advantage of that. Bahamians could become millionaires literally overnight off of citrus, and it's not a difficult industry to get into in terms of farming. It's just a matter of planting a tree and watering it, taking care of it, and in 3 years you'd be able to start to see some type of revenue from that tree, but it'll have to be done on a large scale.
The scarcity of limes in 2014 prompted an idea in the mind of Gator that despite not having a lot of farming know-how, he could use his business acumen to create an opportunity for himself. With the encouragement of his father, he took the leap and became a lime farmer.
A few years ago, this was still a young farm, so I was just spot picking at the time. So I couldn't grow enough, lime for the market at that time. That's what kept me more interested in doing it. For when another drought like that, then I know I'll make my money back, Yeah, and with these trees, there's always a bunch of different size ones. You never harvest all at one time because all ain't full at one time.
Gator says his knowledge of growing limes is light years away from where it was when he first began. He invested wisely in his farm.
On the other type of farming, I don't know much about, the vegetable farming and other stuff like that, but the citrus farming, I'd advise them to try it, go in it small and see how it work out, and depends on the demand. Go for it, because that was my approach in the beginning. You see? And when I started, I started out just to water it manually. But when I think about it, and I say, man, labor and other things that would kill me. So I put underground irrigation so I could feed and water and do everything. Just I could start the pump, hook everything up, and I could go to my house and do some other things while the farm take care of itself, you know.
It's that kind of pragmatic business sense that Gator brings to his operation. He says he can see a day when he's farming on 3 times the acreage he has now, and encourages other Bahamian farmers to get in the business.
Can we feed ourselves in the Bahamas? Do you believe what needs to happen for us to be able to reduce the amount of money we spend bringing food into the country?
I think the government need to get more serious on the farming. Like put bans on certain things, because right now we have so much wastage here in the Bahamas. Yeah. You see, we have too much wastage in the Bahamas. So if the government get more serious in the farming, they'll like look into who growing what and decide to put a ban on certain things, what they know the farmers them growing in abundance. Put a ban on that. That's where we'll get everything sell what we growing here in the Bahamas.
Last question. You grow in a product that could be used, straight off of the tree, but then there's also a product that could be processed for bottling and whatnot, or other uses. Any thought to expanding, or like in the future, once you have it all planted out, expanding so that you do more than just grow fresh limes, but you can actually grow lime, make your own lime juice or anything like that?
No, I think I'll just stick with just growing and selling it in bushels, and let some other young entrepreneur probably buy from me and go into bottling and other stuff like that.
Gator says he's happy. He's on to something. Growing limes in a country that really loves its lime. To get to Sammy Noel's farm, you've got to go deep into Andros pine forest. Noel came to the Bahamas more than 40 years ago and has been farming ever since.
What are you growing here, Sammy?
I grow everything. Pepper, tomatoes, cabbage, onion, hot pepper, everything.
So how long before these cabbage ready?
Probably next 2 weeks. I guess that it got cut. Yeah, next 2 weeks. Some right now I could cut, but I it on next 2 weeks so I could be full. Yeah.
And about how much do you think you'll harvest by this time?
I think just like $100 a year. Yeah, $100 a year.
Now what are you growing after that?
They're going by BAMSI.
Oh, they're going BAMSI, okay.
BAMSI, some for BAMSI, some can be for big packing house.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how you can do this. So
what are you going to grow next?
I can grow watermelon, a pumpkin, good pepper, a fragrant pepper. That's how you can go. Cassava, sweet potato.
Okay.
Yeah, I grow all this. Eddie. Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Yeah, I grow all this. Like, I work it I grow them for BAMSI and big packing house. Yeah, because government give me fungicide, give me a spray, so they give me some seed. So I got a purple onion. Just like I got purple cabbage, I got purple onion too.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So they give me purple onion, cabbage, purple cabbage. Yeah, that's like all this.
Purple.
Quality is a word you'll hear often when you speak to Sammy, especially about his crop.
Plenty people do farm down here, but I could tell you that me, Bishop, I was no be quality. Stephen Adley, yeah, that's quality farmer. Because when you see no carry things packing out, no carry quality. Yeah, just like that.
Sammy believes in networking with other farmers and leans heavily on their input to grow quality produce. He says sharing information makes for better farming.
What are we looking at, Sammy? Tell me what this is.
Onion.
Okay.
Yeah, onion.
So how long?
Yeah, by March, they can be ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, March, they can be ready. Because I got this food on the start bugging. They start bug now.
Mm-hmm.
But I try with them now. So that's because I going to spray them now.
Mm-hmm.
So I spray every week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I spray every week. I spray them.
That's a lot of onions.
That's plenty onion. Plenty onion.
And good quality
Yes.
onions, big onions.
Big onion quality.
Sammy sells his produce to the packing house and to BAMSI as a part of their Associated Farmers program. He says too many farmers are not renewing their licenses and are missing out on what these programs offer.
But if you don't take care crop, so you can be when you go and carry things packing out, they can be giving you lot reject. But when you picking all bad things, you leave them on the ground. So when you carry them packing out, you carry quality. When you go and carry packing out, and BAMSI the same thing too. So you don't carry. Some people they carry anything. Then after they get they throw my things. But when you carry, I carry quality. So they could find true. If I mess and cut something, probably they could find 1 or 2 if I cut. But that's all I do.
Mm-hmm.
So, and plus I got my wife, she got her eye, she can look at before you cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because Miss Pistop could tell you too, so I don't carry this.
But even he had his doubts following the passage of Hurricane Matthew over North Andros in 2016. He's grateful for the advice he got to diversify his crop. Instead of growing green cabbages this year, he went purple, and it's paid off.
Last season I've been carrying, I've been growing onion, tomatoes, sweet pepper. Miss Bethel could tell you, but she been at BAMSI.
Mm-hmm.
That's because she tell me I've been renew. I tell her I ain't renew this contract no more. She tell me say no, well try again. So that's because I've been. But green cabbage this year, I ain't do nothing because too much wind mess them.
Mm-hmm.
But purple cabbage they can't mess them because they hard.
Resistant.
Yeah, they got resistant. So they can't do nothing. They gonna look at the fly. Yesterday I've been spray them. Today I've been supposed to learn water, but I still learn water tomorrow.
Sammy says he feels it's his duty to give back to a country that's given him a lot in the last 40 years.
My experience at BAMSI has been, I would say, second to none. You know, we get to learn about what really happens in the ocean, you know, the largest part of our country. We need to care for our marine resources, and marine science taught to me by BAMSI could help could help all of us to manage those resources. BAMSI has taught me how to be sustainable, you know, how to care for the environment. I believe that BAMSI will have such a positive impact in years to come that people will look back and say, wow, not just in food security, but sustainability in general, you know, managing our resources. This is one of the only institutions in the world that marries both agriculture and marine science. You can learn by Bahamians about the Bahamas, your country, and really learn how to give back. I believe that BAMSI will help the country to move forward.
Drive a few miles north of the San Andros airport and you'll start seeing signs that look like this on the side of the road. These signs tell you that you're on Andros, but you're on a farm that's far different from any other on the island, and that is saying a lot. That's right, fresh strawberries grown right here in the Bahamas. It's the farm run by the Mennonite mission to the Bahamas. Since the early 1980s, Mennonite followers have been coming to the Bahamas as a part of their permanent mission here. With the missionaries came their farming and mechanical know-how. To support the mission, The Mennonites operate a number of businesses that cater to the community, like this produce stand. The Mennonites believe in being self-sufficient, hardworking, and useful to the communities they are in. It's a bit of irony given the origins of the sect, but it is a sign that they are opening up, if ever so gently. They say their avoidance of too many earthly trappings gives them a clear perspective, and when it comes to the farming potential of the Bahamas, they see a lot that can be done here.
I feel like there's a lot of potential here that isn't utilized. There's a lot of, for one resource, God gave a lot of wonderful farmland here on Andros. A lot of acreage that could be utilized, and it could be utilized throughout the year. Farmers tend to just grow in the wintertime, which is the preferable time of year during the dry season, the cooler time of the year. But there's various plants that can grow year-round, like sweet potatoes, and various other crops can be grown year-round. I think there's a lot more potential here in the Bahamas if farmers can learn how to manage, how to deal with the fungus and the bug issues. There are successful farmers here.
The cows on the farm are a mixture of stock brought in many years ago and the existing Bahamian stock. They were brought in by Laverne Ruth's uncle, who had a vision of Andros becoming a dairy and beef hotspot in the Bahamas. Laverne believes it can still happen, but he knows all too well the amount of work it will take to make that dream a reality.
I would like to see more livestock in Bahamas, on Andros. If you can raise your own livestock to produce eggs and milk, meat, the livestock provides manure, which is fertilizer for your fields. You can use that resource, put it on your fields, it builds your soil, and you get better production of your plants. I found that in my own gardening at home. Put some chicken manure from my chickens or the cow manure, come out and get some cow manure. Boosts your soil a lot.
The Mennonites on Andros are a natural fit given the preference of the group for a more rural existence. Ruth says they've worked hard to make their presence a blessing to the farming community. Many Andros farmers rely on the Mennonites for seedlings and also as a retailer for their products. For the Mennonites, they've also gained quite a bit from being here.
When our mission churches in the States wanted to establish a mission, we were encouraged to come to Andros because it was a farming area. And our background as Mennonites, Bible-believing Christians, we prefer the countryside where we can lead quiet and peaceful lives separate from much evil that tends to be in city life. And so we preferred Andros where there's more country. We can have our families at individual homes, we can exercise gardens, and yet reach out to the local community. Most of our departments, our shops are here at the Mennonite farm. We have some other locations too. Most of the people come to our shops here to order their services, whether it's to buy fertilizer or order disking for their fields, or ask for a piece of furniture or service their vehicle. We do get out to the community and literature distribution, and sometimes doing work in their fields or at their homes if they have a need. We've learned a lot from the local farmers over the years, and we're indebted to them. Good farmers like Caleb Evans and others are still successful farmers here on Andros. So we didn't necessarily bring our state's methods, although some of them, that was a blessing to us, what we learned in the States. But we have to use unique, different techniques here in the Bahamas related to this environment.
Self-sufficiency plays out every day on a Mennonite farm. Mark Rohr and his family consider their 3-acre spread a giant refrigerator and pantry, getting fresh eggs and meat from their chickens and beef and milk from the cows they raise. The training to operate a farm begins early for Mennonite boys and girls. As soon as they are tall enough to reach the tools they need, they get to work. Mark says it's important for his small children to grow up unafraid of the animals they keep. While most parents would be afraid for their 4-year-old to stand so close to a 1.5-ton beast, Mark is comfortable knowing that his children will know how to behave around farm animals when they get older. The milking operation is a big part of their daily lives. The Roars observe all of the precautions, starting with wiping the nipples with antibiotics to clean away any bacteria. They use an airtight electric milker. The milk is pumped into a can that has half a dozen bottles of frozen water. The ice at the bottom of the canister keeps the milk below 40 degrees. Any higher and the milk becomes harmful to humans. Before the milk is taken inside, Mark ensures that the calves get their share first. These babies are a few weeks old and are still learning how to drink. In the garden, Mark's wife Emily forages the bean patch for fresh string beans ready to be picked. String beans grow well here, and Emily is thankful for them, even if she has to fight with the white flies to harvest. It's a way of life Mark says he was born to lead. Good, clean living, even to the point of avoiding pesticides.
Personally, I don't like the idea of a lot of sprays being used and that. There needs to be responsibility in the use of those things, and when you do it yourself, then you know what you're putting on and so on.
The clean eating isn't just reserved for the humans on the farm.
It's elephant grass is chopped up into about 3/4 inch length, and we put it in a pile and drive over it with a tractor, pack it down to exclude the air, and cover it with plastic, and that then it ferments, and it keeps that way till we feed it.
And how do the animals like it?
Oh, they really like it. Yeah.
Mark works as a mechanic on the mission. He's gotten his hands dirty fixing hundreds of vehicles for Androsians over the years, including farm equipment. It's fulfilling work, he says, but he still offers this advice to his neighbors who are looking to avoid going to the mechanic shop.
That takes quite a bit. It depends on your maintenance. If you maintain and keep things up, then you don't have as much inputs. But it's still with the roughness of the fields, the stones, and it is fairly hard on the equipment. So it does take keeping after and maintenance. So.
Back on the farm, the Mennonites have a product that's worth its weight in gold: honey. Honey harvesting is big business on the farm. While the bees are critical to pollinating nearby farms, the value of the honey they produce keeps the farm going.
This much space just for raising their brood and storing enough honey and pollen for their own use.
Mm-hmm.
So this is more or less a typical hive size.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping the bees calm, happy, and productive is a big part of Brother Ivan's daily routine. With tens of thousands of bees in multiple colonies all over the farm, it's a task that calls for meticulous attention to detail.
This is the hive tool. It's very much a tool of the trade because bees tend to really glue boxes together with their bee glue. It's called propolis or whatever, and you have to go in there and pry it loose. And so we use hive tools a great deal, and of course I usually put on a suit like this when I'm going out to do bees. I often have Lukens working with me. He has some of his own bees. He's He's a native here, and he works with me a lot. Has some of his own bees too. So I put on a suit like this, and it has a hood like this. Zipper it up to keep the bees out. I still get stung anyway, and sometimes they get in somehow. But and then I often wear gloves like this and put them on too. But even so, I sometimes get stung. So when we're doing bees, we're often running the smoker. Put pine straw or leaves in there, and light a fire in and puff smoke. I don't know if that's actual smoke or if that's just ash right now.
The smoke keeps them calm.
That helps to calm them down, yeah. So we're often running this and using a hive tool. It's a hive tool and a bee suit and a smoker. It's the tools of the trade to work with.
The fact that the smallest animals on the farm have the biggest job is an irony that's not lost on the Mennonites. While the honey sales are sweet, the brothers say it's their Christian duty to help other apiarists set up their colonies on the island, and they've been doing just that. It's that kind of neighborly assistance they feel will strengthen their bonds in the Bahamas, and that's why Laverne wants to stay here.
I hope that someday I can have residency here in the Bahamas. But I find a lot of fulfillment just serving the Lord here. There's a lot of blessing relating to the Bahamians here. Learned a lot from them. Want to be a blessing to them.
Amen.
Hello, I am Michael Ackles.
I am Benjamin Rami.
And this is your BAIC.
We do.
Entrepreneurial planning and development, which includes, among other things, business plans, business coaching, business workshops, and handicraft development to empower all Bahamians.
With its property and land at affordable rates for startup business expansion, and farmers.
We assist in producing produce reports by empowering farmers and facilitating sales to our weekly farmers market with some of the best prices in the country.
At BAIC, we are here and ready to assist you in becoming an entrepreneur and bringing the freshest Bahamian produce to your family's table at very affordable prices. We are leading the way toward food security, empowering our farmers, and reducing the cost of living for families. Come and see how we at BAIC can help you today.
At the Huntley Christie High School in Nicholstown, Andros, self-sufficiency is the order of the day when it comes to the agricultural program. The school has been raising livestock and produce for quite a while now and have successfully supplied to a number of large buyers in New Providence. According to the program coordinator, Ry Purdue, the school also hopes to supply something more important: trained farmers.
The agriculture program here is basically twofold. We have a practical and a theoretical aspect, which the theory is also being reinforced by the practical, which I believe in. We do livestock as well as vegetable production. We produce a variety of vegetable for Nassau and for local market. Over the years, we have been producing for hotels, restaurants, and the packing house, hotels such as Malia, Bahama Food Service, Sandals, Poop Deck, places like Bahama Sup.
The school caught the attention of Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, the Honorable Renwood Wells. Minister Wells wanted to get a close-up look at the program and brought the country's leadership in agriculture along with him. Wells's visit was also a show of support that was welcomed by Purdue.
You're doing drip irrigation?
Yes, 20 years. We have a big farm in the back there, you know. We used to produce, we had a contract with Sheraton and Malia. It's good. We've built buildings here and so, you know, helped build buildings. We used to do a lot here, but Hurricane Matthew put us to a halt. That is why I really need to talk to you about some assistance.
Okay.
We have about 75 students in this program out of nearly 435. Some of them are interested in the program, some are just lingering away, and the important thing is that I'm trying to cultivate a work ethic in the kids so that when they leave school, they can produce food for themselves. I believe in producing food for yourself. I don't believe like buying stuff from the United States or elsewhere, because in the Bahamas we make sure that we do not produce artificial food or GMO food. And the ones that come from the state, I can guarantee you they are mostly genetically modified.
Purdue's program places a heavy emphasis on modern, smart farming. But Purdue says he wants his students to have a full, rounded experience, and he tries to give them that. The school's program has helped to build 2 buildings on campus, purchase equipment, and support multiple school initiatives. He says teaching his students self-reliance is important, but so too is the need to buy Bahamian.
This country has the potential. We have the land space in Andros, Abaco, Eleuthera, Grand Bahama. We also have the know-how. I can challenge you that some of the best agriculturists are found just here in the Bahamas. I think that if we can put some more emphasis in eating locally and produce what we eat, we can go a long way in securing food for our table. The Bahamas at any time would have like 500,000 people in this country, and tourists would make up part of that. Tourists come here not to eat apples and grapes. Tourists come to have a different experience. So I am one of the persons who is supporting restriction of vegetables and fruit that we can produce here locally. And there should be penalty for people caught breaking the restriction. At the moment there is a glut of cabbages and some tomatoes, and I think the powers to be the policymakers should put a restriction on certain items certain times in the year, especially onion, cabbage, tomatoes, sweet pepper. And I am one of the persons who eat local, and I don't buy foreign food at all. We need to do something about our eating habits, because, you know, Foxborn, you remember Foxborn. Right. One day he stood up when I was at school and said, listen, if the good Lord had wanted us to eat apples and grapes, he would have created the soil and atmosphere here for it to grow. So he put a ban on it, strict ban. And when tourists come, we have many tourists coming to this country every year. They don't come to eat apples and grapes and the stuff that we import. They come to eat sugar apple and papaya and stuff like that. So we need to encourage local, and that's the way we have to do it.
For 8th grader Megan Adams, the idea of feeding ourselves is obvious, given the advantages an island like Andros provides.
Yes, we can feed ourselves since, well, one, we're on the largest island in the Bahamas. It's the 5th largest island in the whole Caribbean. And, well, we have a lot of fresh water here, which is good for the plants. And we have a lot of aerial soil, which means it's very fertile. But the problem is that we need more farmers, because we have all the natural resources that we need, but we just don't have the people to farm and cultivate the land. So, yeah.
The 14-year-old has opened her career options up to include agriculture.
Well, I like the fact that you could grow plants and animals. I've always been really fond of animals, so yeah.
Breadfruit. And this is the famous moringa. You know, it's good to eat, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Look at the top. This is kale.
Purdue walks the walk when it comes to farming, using his backyard greenhouse to get most of the produce on the school's farm started. He says his belief in Bahamian agriculture is unshakable.
I am one person who is saying that we need to produce food for ourselves, or else we are going to suffer.
In the Bahamas, we already have pockets where you can see science and technology being introduced in a very meaningful way in the agricultural sector. There are those who are engaged in greenhouse farming. There are those who are now engaged in hydroponic farming. There's the aquacultural projects that have been taking place in the country where you're farming for fish and using the waste that the fish excrete to be able to as fertilizer to power and to feed your plants, and so science and technology is really coming in, and that's what we want the Bahamian people to understand, that really it is science and technology that drives food production. Science, again, I want those young people out there to get this. There is huge opportunities in the agriculture and marine area, and it is driven by science. I want my scientists, I want those persons involved in biology to think seriously about getting into the agricultural industry so that we can grow from strength to strength in the country.
This is a farm. From the outside, it may not look like anything more than a box, but on the inside, some of the most intense and advanced farming in the Bahamas is taking place. In a white box in San Andros, Sir Ron Dean and his brother are growing more than 1,000 pounds of food a week in a 700 square foot box that has no windows and only one door. The food they're growing will never be sold in a supermarket or end up on a plate. That's because what they're growing is animal feed. That's right, the brothers are a different kind of farmer growing a very different kind of crop.
Well, if you have livestock, you know how important it is to find a high quality, consistent feed source without taking a valuable land or spending too much money. And these are some of the things that farmers all over the world tend to struggle with, including the rising cost of hay and in some situations even drought. So I figured anyone who's serious about raising livestock, this will definitely be something that they'd consider. Fortunately for me, the Bahamas Agriculture and Marine Science Institute was serious about raising livestock.
The company is called Organic Solar, started with the financial and operational support of Sir Ron's mother and brother. BAMSI is their first client, but not their only one. The work done by the brothers in feeding hundreds of head of sheep and goat at BAMSI has attracted international attention. The Deans will be replicating their setup on a larger scale on the other side of the world in Mongolia in a few months. The operation also caught the attention of officials in the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources.
I didn't know it goes straight to box.
Yeah. So what it is first they eat the top that they love, and then they eat the root mat. And we all know once seeds are sprouted, that's the starch in the seeds is converted to sugar, and they say scientists say it tastes really good to them. I've tried it. It just tastes like dry peas to me. You know, I didn't have any, nothing sweet about it to me. But they say, it tastes sweet to them. Starch, I don't know.
It's hard to explain to somebody how this entire operation works. Sitting down and having a conversation with somebody telling them I can grow 1,000 pounds a day or 365,000 pounds a year worth of food in a structure less than 700 square feet is mind-blowing. But fortunately for me, there are a few people there who saw the vision and who thought that it could work. And as a result of that, here I am.
While Dean is grateful for the support he got from his family and the belief in his vision, it took a tremendous amount of self-confidence for him to get into farming a product no human would eat. For Dean, it was all about recognizing an opportunity and not being afraid of trying something different. He says that confidence started when he was a student in the same program headed by Ry Purdue at the Huntley Christie High School in Nicholstown.
Gone are the days when traditional farming means you have to do all sorts of grudge or grunt work. I can be in this building all day and never see the sun or never break a sweat. And what I'm doing is still considered farming. So if you're interested in farming or not interested in it, just take a look at the options and benefits that are presented in front of you. For example, greenhouses or even a structure like this. There's all sorts of different ways that people can get into the business. For example, I chose to grow animal feed instead of raising livestock. Raising livestock is one of them. Farming fish is another. So there's so many different ways that you can get into the agriculture business, into feeding not only yourselves but feeding others. The possibilities for it can be endless. And to my agriculture teacher, I said thank you. He wasn't too nice to me in school, but I'm glad that he appreciates me now. I'm kidding. I can remember one thing he said in high school. Say, if one of y'all end up doing something in agriculture, I would have done my job. Told you it was going to be me.
Dean says he is confident that the emergence of BAMSI as the agricultural education and research leader in the country and the boom in local produce farming is setting us on a path to feeding ourselves. He believes the Bahamas can become a major supplier of animal protein as well. He's already formulating plans for expanding his operations beyond Andros. He wants to stay ahead of the curve, and when islands like Long Island, Abaco, and Grand Bahama bounce back in supplying the nation's supply of beef, sheep, and goat meat, he'll be ready.
Well, based on the structure of our country, the Bahamas can no doubt feed itself. When we look at islands like Andros and Eleuthera and Long Island and Abaco and Grand Bahama, these islands are primed and positioned to be able to supply the entire Bahamas with whatever we need. If Grand Bahama pops up and say, hey, I'm going to do a chicken farm and I'm only going to supply it to Bahamians. Andros said, let's do goats and sheep and cows. And Eleuthera said, let's do this or let's do that. We can position ourselves to cut this $1 billion food bill that we have down to almost nothing.
This young man's vision is critical to any hopes of Bahamian farmers raising animals to feed ourselves. Dean has worked the numbers, and his method of providing feed, when it becomes widely available, will be a big help to livestock farmers around the country. Until then, he'll continue to perfect his craft in a windowless box in San Andros. When it comes to food production, Andros can no longer remain the sleeping giant. Successive governments have recognized the importance of Andros and our goal toward food security, and the investment in farm institutions there is proof that we're on our way. The concern remains the amount of farmers needed to make an impact. But one thing is sure, when the number of farmers starts to catch up, the opportunities and land will be there waiting for them on Andros.